Windows 11. This is when I started needing to use text-to-speech for a lot of things because of the condition where my eyes ache.
Mhm.
I don't use Windows Narrator. There was a time where I needed to, because of a surgery I had on my eyes last year. I needed to recover. Like, I was completely blind. So, for those of you out there who are completely blind, I know what it's like. It's not fun. But the text-to-speech voice, Microsoft David Desktop, they've had it since Windows 8. And in Windows 8, the only thing wrong with it was that it mispronounced Linux as Linux. That was the only thing wrong with it. Other than that, it was perfect. And Windows 10, they fixed the Linux bug. So it pronounces Linux properly. Windows 11, every update, they hamstring the speech API, the SAPI engine, little by little, every update. Now it cannot pronounce conversion correctly.
What?
Like, I did a test on your Discord server. I typed out the word converted, and conversion. I read it with eSpeak on Linux, and it pronounces it converting, converted, conversion. Windows, it goes converting, converted, conversion. And I'm like, what the hell?
Okay.
Why does it pronounce it like that?
I get the Linux one, but like how do you not handle a word that like a standard English word?
Especially when it handled it properly in a previous build. Like, what the hell? My theory, now obviously I don't know what the hell's going on at Microsoft, and I don't care. But my theory is that when you open Windows Narrator, what it does now is it prompts you to download a bunch of natural sounding voices to your computer that I guess are like built on AI models. And they sound okay. But my theory is that they're kind of hamstringing the old sappy style robot-y voice that Microsoft David Desktop and Microsoft Sam and all those are. They're hamstringing them to kind of subtly influence us blind people to go get the natural sounding voices so they don't have to maintain the freaking narrator voices from the past anymore. And I hate that. Like, stop doing that, Microsoft. If that's what you're doing, I will find you. I don't like how they make me download natural sounding voices, because first of all, the first thing that it does is it tries to train the voice based on like detecting tone or something like that. Like sometimes it'll swap over to a female voice or a different accent or a different language if it detects that.
Okay.
Stop it. If I'm reading source code and it interprets it as Japanese, like, I can't read that code anymore. Like, just use the robot voice. Let it spell things out that it doesn't recognize, or skip over, like, symbols and stuff like that. Stop with the natural sounding voices. First of all, they take up disk space that they don't need to take up. And second of all, the point of a screen reader voice is not to sound like a human being. It's to be understandable and consistent. And consistently working. It's literally your eyesight at some point. So it needs to work. It cannot rely on the internet, because if your internet goes down, you're fucked.
Right.
It cannot rely on like AI models, because AI models hallucinate, they make mistakes, and then you end up with conversion. Or, reading C# code as Russian. Like, come on, stop the AI. I just want my robot-y voice, and Linux gives me that.
How well does the TTS work across applications on Windows? Like, are there any places where you find where it just doesn't do anything? Or like, how does the TTS actually function for you?
So, like I said, I try not to use narrator.
Sure.
I try to only use text-to-speech as an assist. So in Discord, there's a feature where I can right-click a message and hit speak message, and it will go through narrator. There's some hacky stuff you got to do to get that working on Linux, but on macOS and Windows, it works perfectly. But when I had to use narrator, the UWP apps mostly worked fine. Browsing the internet No. Like, if I tried to use Google Docs, no way. Even with the text-to-speech support turned on in Google Docs options, it just would not work with narrator. Or if I tried to, like, browse a very heavy JavaScript website, for example,
Right.
none of that would work.
Mm-hmm.
Even using narrator in Discord was inconsistent, because typing in the chat box, it's supposed to narrate every keystroke. So if I type in A, it'll say A. And the idea behind that is, well, if you're fully blind, you don't have the ability to proofread your text because you can't see it.
Sure.
So it's nice to be able to hear what you're typing as you type it. And it's supposed to, when you hit the space bar, read the previous word and tell you if there's a mistake.
Right.
But I type fast enough to crack that. So it just gives up until I restart narrator.
Mm-hmm. All right, sure.
Yeah.
So you're saying about the natural sounding and the robotic voices. So you have a preference towards the robotic voices, then?
Yeah.
Do you feel like
I will...
sorry, I'll let you say what you're gonna say in a sec. But I was gonna ask you, do you have do you feel like the natural voices kind of sound uncanny, or is it just the fact that they sometimes just make things up?
It's both. I find them really uncanny. For me, I have selective hearing, and when I'm using a screen reader, I don't want to hear a human.
Right.
I want to hear a screen reader, and they have distinct voices. I don't want it trying to infer tone. Like, maybe do the little rise in your speech when you're reading a question mark. Like, that's okay.
Sure.
But, like, don't try to detect language and stuff like that and tone. I just want it to read the words.
Mm-hmm.
And I want it to read it as fast as possible with no lag. And the robotic voices are really nice for that, because they've been pretty much the same since 2001. Like, they can run on an ancient Pentium and read perfectly fine.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas the natural sounding voices, not only are they very uncanny, but they're more intensive on the system.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a delay between you actually telling it to read something and it reading it, because it has to process everything a lot more.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't like that. I just want it to work.
Right. So you're also saying before that you don't like relying on the TTS. Why is that?
Because a lot of apps are broken,
Sure.
and I still have sight left. TTS is there. I like it to be there and functioning when I need it.
Mm-hmm.
Like when I'm reading long paragraphs, that's where I struggle with, because it genuinely saves time. If I right-click on a message you send me, 2 seconds listening to it versus 2 minutes trying to read it, I'll go with the text-to-speech.
Mm-hmm.
But if I'm just navigating a context menu or a dialog box and the set of options, or I'm searching for a program, it's 1 or 2 words, maybe 3 or 4. I can read that perfectly fine, just zoomed in.
Mm-hmm.
So, in those cases, it's actually faster for me to not wait for a text-to-speech voice to figure out what I'm hovering over, what I've had selected, and, maybe some GUI toolkits don't have accessible objects defined, so the screen reader just doesn't see them.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to deal with that. But I also want my text-to-speech to be there if and when I absolutely need it.